Good afternoon and welcome back to Expansion of Consciousness. Our host, Jason Medlock. It just seems like the show keeps getting better and better. And of course, I'm biased because I have hosted and I am the creator of the show, but it is getting better. It's getting better each and every night that we produce content. And tonight is no different. We're going to have a master NLP practitioner on the show, and she's a coach. But before we do, make sure that if you are just watching us because you see us pop up on your cell phone, go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube at Ignition of Consciousness. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Twitter. We're live on LinkedIn. So you just choose whatever you want to do and just sit back and check us out. But Collins. June Collins is a master NLP practitioner and she's a coach. In 2012, she lost her son, Kaleb, and found herself hitting rock bottom and not understanding how to rebuild her life without Kaleb in it. During this time, June found a passion with the mind and how individuals react to trauma. Through her own experience and education, she helps other women rebuild and find purpose in their life. In 2012, June said her life was upside down when her 2.5-year-old son passed away. And as she hit rock bottom and began to rebuild her life and find her purpose in life, became intrigued by the mind. So June began to study it and became a master at neuro-linguistic programming, which we mentioned before, cognitive behavior therapy, dialectical behavior therapy, and acceptance and commitment therapy. Things that I want to know about tonight, and I'm gonna make sure we get it all out of June. But through her studies, she founded Life After Child. Life After Child helps women rebuild and find purpose in their life after child loss. Through June's work, she found purpose, which is teaching other women to rebuild and find purpose themselves in their own lives. June believes as women, we get lost in our marriage, being a mom, and you get lost in your career. We forget even um, our purpose. And aside satisfying everybody else, which we know a lot of moms and the wives of the family, yeah, we know that they satisfy everybody and they take care of themselves last. But that's what moms do, and we love that. But to thrive, June mentions as women, we have to live a life where our purpose is in line with the life we're living. Without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring June on. What a special spirit, what a special individual. And I cannot wait to get this conversation started. Hey, June, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good, doing pretty good. I hope I did a pretty good job with just letting the audience know your depth, what you've gone through, and some of the things that you learn to change your life, help other women, and actually to coach these techniques and these methods. But the one thing that struck me was losing a child. I have a child. I know most of the audience probably still listening. That's incredible, and even at that age. But child loss and the
Yeah.
process of healing. Can you just speak to that?
Yeah. So I was the career oriented woman. I always thought that my purpose in life was to have a big career and be like this big, great, just whatever you decide when you're young, so when I was 29, I decided, you know what? I think I need to have a child. I'd never thought about it before. I wasn't having kids. I was going to have this great career, and I decided to have a child. Well, when I had my child in 2009, I had actually a complete placental abruption. And for
Mm.
those that don't know, basically, the baby tears away from your wall and they're not breathing. And it was crazy. I had a lot of trouble with that. But anyway, he ended up living, and obviously I lived. And we went on from there. And he was actually a special needs child. And he had seizures, he had microcephaly, he had a whole bunch of things wrong with him. And but he was fine. We had each other. We both lived through it. And I always told myself, we lived for each other. And
Hmm.
that's how, we went on, and we learned how to live a life as a family of a special need with a special needs child, because it's different. So in 2012, we took shifts. I'll start by that. We took shifts taking care of Caleb, because he had to be fed in the middle of the night, and he would wake up several times during the night because of like his problems. And so one night I was woke up by my husband at the time screaming that Caleb wasn't breathing. And I ran downstairs, and I guess just the mind doesn't want to believe that something's wrong with a child. And
Yeah.
so basically, I was like, "Are you joking?" That was like all I could say was, "Are you joking?" And he said, "No, I'm serious." And I actually went into Caleb's room and grabbed him off the bed, and I started CPR on him. And I did CPR on him until the paramedics arrived. And after the paramedics arrived, obviously they took him to the hospital. And when they got there, he was deceased, and that was back in
Yeah.
2012. And from there, I ended up divorcing my husband at the time. We just kind of grew apart. We both grieved differently, and men and women usually do grieve differently. And I got to a point where I was obviously divorced. I had my dog, that was it. I had this little miniature dachshund, and it was like the
Yeah.
greatest thing ever. And I was just sitting on the couch one day, and I just decided, I got to figure this out. I can't, because at the time when I lost my son, I was only 31 years old. And
Yeah.
I was, it's like, I can't live the rest of my life like this, but I don't know how to move forward, and I don't know how to do it. And that's when, like anybody that loses a child, I decided I'm going to get my master's degree in forensic psychology. And then, after I did that and just studied the mind for a long time, I enjoyed it so much. I was like, what else is out there? And that's when I started taking so many different things. And then I became where I loved helping women. I loved helping other women that were going through the same thing I was going through. And that just drove me even more into, well, I wonder what NLP is. I wonder what acceptance, and commitment therapy is. I wonder what cognitive behavioral therapy is. And that's what, I found out what I like doing the best. And then after I found out I like this way of doing it, then I just learned more and more and more. And that's kind of where I am now.
And it's awesome. I love neuro linguistic programming.
Yeah.
It is truly a special modality. And I'm a
Mhm.
certified hypnotherapist. I'm also a QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis practitioner. And I know how special NLP can be used in conjunction with those modalities. So
Yeah.
I was so excited. Um, June, how can you know it's obviously you always think about the children and being a part of your life and the loss, and that never goes
Mhm.
away, but you grow
No.
from it. How can you
Mhm.
start rebuilding um how can women start rebuilding their lives, women that you work with after they've experienced such a tragic loss with a child?
Sure. So I like NLP. The NLP and commitment and acceptance therapy are my favorite. They're my favorite because it was,
Yes.
once I learned what they were what helped me the most.
Mhm.
And it truly starts by whenever you lose a child, basically your morals, your values, and your beliefs, they are totally gone.
Mm.
What I believed before my child loss is totally different than what I believe now. And the things that happen to me in a day, they don't mean as much to me. They're just not important anymore to me. And I think the first step is realizing, you know what, I do want to change. I don't want to stay in this place that I am. I really don't know how to do it, but I want to change. And once you accept and make it a point in your mind to say, you know what, I'm going to do this. And that's the most important steps, and it's one of the hardest steps for anybody that loses children or even a husband or something like that, because everybody's always afraid that if I move forward, I'm forgetting them, or if I move forward, I'm not appreciating them like I should, or they're going to be forgotten. And the whole thing is you'll never ever forget someone that you love so much.
You
I
know, I'm sorry. Go ahead, June.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just loss of a spouse,
Mhm,
loss of a child, loss of someone you've been planning to do things with. It's just really tough. And
mhm,
I've had someone in my family who's just gone through a lot of loss and a lot of hurt
yeah,
like that.
mhm,
And I guess the question is, women, they'll speak, or men will speak on the topic, and they had to go change and they had to work on
mhm,
this. And here I am now. And then the audience typically is left with, I wonder what she did exactly to change. I wonder what
mhm,
that process looked like. I
yeah,
wonder how many nights she cried.
mhm,
Like, what is the process? What did it look like, June? And
mhm,
even the dark moments when you thought you were possibly over it, and then all of a sudden you feel this, this tenseness again, and you have to
mm,
go back through the whole process and try to get back to where you are now. How does the healing look, and what did you do?
okay. So, obviously, I made up my mind, and that was one of the biggest steps I had to do. And then I had to look at, what do I truly believe now? What are my
Yes.
morals? What is important to me? And I had to get rid, in a simple way, I had to get rid of everything that was important in my life anymore. And then I had to tell myself over and over again, because all of this is a mind, and I say mind game lightly, but it's a mind game. You have to reprogram your mind of what you're thinking. So for one thing that I did is I said an affirmation. I wanted to learn how to do it, and I said an affirmation. And my affirmation was, I've already lived my worst day. Every day after that is going to be better than that day was. And that meant something to me, because I was like, there's absolutely nothing that's going to happen in my life that is worse than that was. I mean, there's nothing. And I said that. And anytime I had one of those bad times, and at first, it's all the time. I can remember,
Mhm.
probably the first months. There's very little that I do remember, but I kept telling myself over and over again that affirmation when I had a negative thought in my head. Because basically, what you're trying to do, and NLP teaches you this, is you're trying to train your mind to think differently. Because most
Mhm.
people, when say you I say your grandmother, or I say your child, your mind's automatically going to have you remember the last memory you have of them, that last interaction, that last talk you had with them. And for someone that's grieving, in a sense, the last thing that they remember is that death. Whether you found them, whether, like for me, I had found my son, I did CPR on him. I remember what he looked like when I got to the hospital. Those were the last thoughts in mind of my son. And there were so many more thoughts that were so much better, so many happy moments, so many things that we did. I mean, I took a 2.5-year-old special needs kid to the Bahamas. You know what I mean? We did so much more
Yes.
stuff. And I had to, whenever I had that negative thought, so I had the affirmation. I'll go ahead and say that. I had the affirmation. I had a negative thought, which was very often. It was like, let me find 10 minutes of happiness. Then let me find a couple hours of happiness. Then let me find a day of happiness. Because everybody wants a quick fix when it comes to loss in general, or something in job, a career. You want it fast and you want it right now. But just like everything in life, it's a process. It's step by step, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. So I kept telling myself over and over again, I want to keep doing this. I want to keep doing this. Affirmation when I had a bad time. And then I would try all the things that people said, to that this is how you heal. And I truly don't believe you heal. I'll go ahead and say that. I don't believe you heal. I think you learn how to deal with it. So I would try different things. I tried counseling and
Hmm.
therapy, and that just wasn't for me. I'm a very introverted person, and that just wasn't for me. I didn't want to go tell
Yes.
somebody. So I didn't want to tell somebody my problems that I didn't know, and someone that didn't
Right.
had never experienced child loss. So that didn't work for me. So then I was like, okay, well, that didn't work. Let me move on to something else. And I never tried group counseling because like I said, a whole group of people, it wasn't for me. And then, they said, hey, when you're having a bad thought in your mind or having bad thoughts, get on YouTube and watch a funny video and watch something happy. So I try to do that. I mean, just anything, any little thing that they had out there. They said to talk to other mothers. I talked to a lot of mothers, and I love talking to mothers that have lost a child because we have something in common. And I always say we're part of a group we never wanted to be a part of, but we bonded, and that helped me. And then I during my child loss phase, I had what I call triggers, and everybody will have them. And basically it was identifying when all of a sudden I was having a good day and I would have a bad moment. I call that a trigger. And when I would have those triggers, what I would do was I would sit down, and I'm old fashioned. I have a journal, and I would sit down and I would write into it. What was I doing? What was it? What was I doing? Did me having something? Did what I was doing to have something to do with my child? Did Was it a smell I smelled? Was it a place I went? And I just evaluated it and thought, what is my mind thinking? And I can give you a perfect example of this because my mother passed away in July of last year. And when my mother passed away, I was having a really bad time. I mean, obviously with my mom passing, but I went back to that dark place with my child again. And
Wow.
I was having a lot of problems with him. So I'm like, what's going on? I know how to deal with loss. What's going on? And I did the same thing. Okay, I was triggered when my mom passed away. Why? Okay, well, my mom's a family member and Caleb was a family member. No, it's got to be more than that. So then I broke it down even more, and it was okay. Well, my basically broke it down, and then I basically figured out that I was having such a bad time with my mom passing because my mom was there with Caleb's traumatic birth. She was there when he passed. She took care of him, and she was one of the only people that are left that actually knew Caleb. Most people I know now know him from stories. They don't know him as a
Yeah.
person. And that's what triggered me. And now that I figured out of it, I'm like, okay, I can deal with it. I understand now. And that's with anything. I mean, I'm talking about child loss and grief and stuff like that, but that's anything in life. Like when you're having a bad moment, there's a reason why. And that's part of NLP is figuring out where's this coming from, not changing it. We're trying to change how you feel or what happened to you, or and make it seem like we're going to make it better. We're just going to try to teach you how to deal with it. And I think that's how anybody, and that's how I dealt with it, was I need to learn how to deal with it. And one of the biggest things with learning how to deal with it was realizing that just because I'm moving forward and I laugh, or I have a good time with, going out and doing something with my friends or hanging out or going places, that doesn't mean I'm replacing my child. And I talk about my child a lot. I'm married again, and I have a little girl now. I have a little girl. She's
Right.
9 now, but I they know about Caleb. Caleb is still in my life. There's pictures of him up. My daughter asks questions about him, and I'm very honest to an extent of a 9-year-old. Obviously, I don't go into a lot of details. I went one funny story. When she was younger, she asked me what happened to Caleb when he died, and I said, well, he went to sleep one night and never woke up. Well, I scared her, and then she never wanted to go to sleep.
Yeah.
She
No, so
always say, I thought it was just being slick, and like, oh well, he went to sleep one night and just didn't go. Well, then she was scared to go to sleep. It was Now I can laugh about it, but back then it was hard because she wouldn't go to sleep at night. But you know, she knows about him. she she actually grieves him as well, and I think it's because it's the brother that she never had because she's the only child, and she knows she had
Mhm.
a brother, but he's not here.
Right.
So we talk about him. I'm married again. My husband, he knows about him, and we talk about him and his birthday and his death day. He always just shoots me a text, "Hey, I'm thinking about you." And, that's how we deal with it. And I think a lot of people think that just because you're moving on or something happened or a death happened, that you have to forget about it. And that's another thing with NLP. You just have to learn how to deal with it and deal with it in a healthy way. And that's how I do it. I deal with it in a healthy way. I still have my bad days. There's just because, I healed, doesn't mean that I'm not going to have bad days. The week before his death day, because he died March 20th, um, I had a really bad week. I had my little crying section, and I got down deep in that spot, and I said, "Okay, I'm gonna cry it out." I cried it out, and then it was like, "Okay, I had my cry for his death day, and now it's time to pick myself back up." And it's unfortunately, it's not something like, some people are like naturally good at soccer, baseball, basketball, or naturally good at talking, or naturally good at something. With child loss or with something like this, you actually have to try, and
Mm.
that's, you actually have to want it. You actually have to push yourself, and it's scary. And back to like the deep spot that I went, I mean, I'm very open with it. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't eat. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want anybody around me. I got spot. I was working for, I was working in law enforcement at a drug task force at the time, and I was an agent with them. And we did a search warrant on a house. And I decided in 2 weeks I was ready to go back to work, which was crazy. Don't ever do that. But I I was doing a search warrant with them, and I can't remember to this day. I remember some of it, don't remember all of it. And I was at that point at during that time where I was like, I don't want to kill myself, but if something happened to me and I actually passed away or died, it would be okay. And that is not okay to be like that, but that's where I was at. And
Right.
I put everybody in jeopardy, and we got to think about that too. And so I knew then too, I had to get out of that spot. I mean, you look at now and you're like, God, I can't believe I was there, but I was there.
Yeah.
A lot of people are there with different things in life.
NLP is so amazing. And ladies and gentlemen, neuro linguistic programming. But I wanted to ask you, and
Mhm,
since we're on the topic of, passing away, death,
mhm,
there are parts of NLP, and y'all know you know this, that can move you to have conversations with those beings who have moved on.
mhm,
And it is something like QHHT. And I forget the name of which modality that's under the NLP branch, but in any event, I've had patients who, I'm sorry, let me not say patients. I've had clients who they mourned a loved one, and I've
mhm,
always told them, and we're taught this: we cannot contact them too soon. It's just not. It's not appropriate to contact too soon. So I've had clients that we waited, a period of 6 months, and they went through their healing process, and were able to handle it, and we made contact through quantum
mhm.
healing hypnosis.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Mhm,
The loved one came through their avatar speaking to them, and it really, really helped
mhm,
with the bad days from that day forward. Bad days and just the lonely feeling went away, and this individual went on to just do some great things in business. And I'm wondering, had you had that experience yet? Have you thought about it yet? You are um uh a coach, NLP master, you know about these modalities. Was that something
Mhm.
you ever entertained, or it's just, thought about for a hot second?
So I don't want to talk about much, but I'll tell you about my dream. So when
Dreams
I
are
had,
real.
yeah,
Dreams are important.
yes, they were. It was extremely important to me, and I believe in signs, and I believe in spirits.
Yes.
Although I was extremely mad at God at the time when my son died at first, when I came home from the hospital, um, I sat on my front porch and I sat on my front porch and I was just sitting there because I didn't know what to do. It's just like, what do you do? And I was just sitting there in silence. And I live on 5 acres in the country. And I was sitting
Mhm.
on my front porch. And although we have wildlife out here, a deer came out and the deer was like 50 feet in front of me and we just stared at each other. I call her she, but we just kind of stared at each other, and then like all of a sudden she walked off, and I truly believe that that was a sign that peace, just because the symbol of deer and they're peaceful and they're sweet and just beautiful animals, and so that's the first time that I believe I it was a sign. It was
Yeah.
someone telling me it's going to be okay. And
I,
then, I can't remember how long I was into the death of Caleb. I know I was still I don't even know if I was still eating yet. I went to sleep one night and I had a dream, and I was in and this is gonna I guess because I have a field out in front of my house, I guess that's why I was in a field. It's not that crazy. But I was in a field and I remember standing there and Caleb came running up to me and he grabbed onto my legs and he looked up at me and he smiled.
all
And
right.
that was it. That was the whole dream. But the significance of the dream to me was Caleb
I'm
had
okay.
cerebral palsy. He couldn't walk. He was in a wheelchair. When he ran up to me and he put his arms around me and looked up at me, he had cortical blindness and he didn't have his glasses on, so he could see. And then when he smiled, Caleb couldn't smile, and he gave me this big, huge. He only smiled from like a spot in his mouth a little bit where he could move it, and he
Yes.
smiled this big smile. And one of the biggest fears for me too was I was so scared that nobody could take care of Caleb as good as I could take care of him. And that dream had such a significant significance going through my child loss. And obviously it was just a dream, but it gave me a relief. It really did give me a relief. Like I just okay, everything's gonna be okay. And obviously it was a long time before I decided I was gonna I needed to do something with my life, but eh, it came at a good time. It really came at a good time after I had that dream. I started eating some, and then obviously I started eating again, and I kind of picked myself up, and maybe I should go to work. Maybe I should, talk to people because I wasn't talking to anybody either. So that happened right away, and then now, I believe in like I don't want to sound crazy, but I believe in numbers. And I get like a series of numbers all the time. I get I get when they started, I remember seeing 333. And the significance for 333 with me is three is was my soccer number because I used to play soccer. And so, I see, the same digits, three same digits, and I believe it's a sign. And then I also I I I ask for signs. Like if I'm worried about something or if I'm thinking about something really hard and I think I need the answer. I'm like, I don't know where to go. I need a sign. I need a sign or I need you. I tell Caleb, I need you, or I tell Mom, I need you. We have Cardinals up at the front of my house where my dad lives, a mile and a half up, and I park my car out in front of his house right outside the door, and there's a cardinal that will come and jump on one of the outside mirrors of my car, and he'll go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And a cardinal obviously is this, a sign that your loved one is there. And I believe in signs, and I believe that if you ask, I really believe in manifest. I didn't. I didn't for a long time believe in it, but I think if you ask, then it will come.
I totally
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Mhm.
Spirits come to us in different ways. They come to us sometimes through
Mhm.
our chakra systems, which invoke emotion. They
Mhm.
sometimes come to us in the form of maybe an animal, sort of like what you're talking
Mhm.
about.
Yeah.
And the subconscious in your higher self will never put more on you than you bear. And I'm speaking to the audience.
Mhm.
It will never. And the dreams that you had were for a reason. The
Mhm.
subconscious mind controls what you see,
Yeah.
and they show it to you for a reason, and
Mhm.
it's for this particular lifetime. You will never dream anything, how wild it may be, the dream that's not serving a purpose for this time. But I got something else I want to show you. Here's a
Mhm.
brilliant young lady. I want you to give me your thoughts on this young lady. She's NLP just like you, and just want to know to get your thought process on. Um, just she does great work, and here she is. You. So tell us about your website. Give the audience what they expect, and when they come to visit you at
Mhm.
lifeafterchild.com. And let me put the banner up. I got your banner right there. Let's talk about it a little bit. What can we expect, or what can the audience expect when they come to your website?
Yeah. So basically, it just kind of talks about a lot of women have guilt. There's usually some kind of guilt from it, from their child loss. And it just is going to basically tell you, hey, most people have guilt. I'm going to help you rebuild your life. And I believe that you have to rebuild, you're rebuilding your life from what you used to know. And you have to find your purpose. I truly believe in your purpose. So basically, when you go to my website, it's going to tell you a little bit about just child loss, and then you just book a consultation. That's all you have to do is just book a consultation, because sometimes how can I explain that? I don't want to sound mean, but like sometimes I'm not the person for everybody.
Oh
I
yeah,
truly believe to
that's not
heal.
mean. That's just being
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, I mean, I truly, if you really truthfully want to heal and you want to get the most out of um, a NLP practitioner, or you or anybody, you have to mesh. And I say mesh, that's probably an fashion word, but you have to mesh, and I have to be your person. And if we're not people, if we're not meshing together, then we don't need to work together. You need to find who is the perfect
Yeah.
person for you. And so I want to talk to you, and I want to talk to you for at least 45 minutes. And that way we get a good understanding about it. And, I'll ask you about your child loss, and I'll ask you, what do you want? What do you want? And a lot of times that is one thing someone they don't know. I don't know what I want. I just know I don't want to feel like this.
Mm,
And we talk about if they have guilt issues and just stuff like that. And yeah, that's the first step, is just 45 minutes just to see what's going on. How do you want help? If some people don't know. If you don't know, that's okay
yeah.
too. And I always tell people, in that call, let's figure out, if you don't know your personality, you got to figure out what your personality is. You need to figure out what you believe is important now, and important meaning morals, value, beliefs. But the thing is, it's not, well, I think my family's important. NLP tells you to break it down more than that. Okay, it's not
Yeah.
just your family. What about your family? Is it love you guys share? Is it the togetherness? Is it the closeness? Is it the happy times? What is it about each specific thing? You don't want, basically, you're not looking for a noun. You're looking for, you know, something more than just family. You're looking for loving,
Yes.
caring, and stuff like that. I always tell them to do that. That would be number one. After you make the decision to do it, I guess number two is, let's figure out what your morals are, your values, your beliefs, and then let's start thinking about triggers. When are you feeling the saddest? When are you having the bad times? When are you having the good times? Um, so yeah, that's basically the start of it. I do have like a lot of stuff. I have a separate private group for women, and I just post a lot of stuff in there, just webinars and stuff like that. And that's on Facebook. And a lot of people don't have
So I was
Facebook.
gonna and I was gonna ask you to give a last word to the audience, and you're doing just that. So go ahead and give them this last
Yeah,
word because
no,
I want
no.
you to give them information.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, there's a lot of information on there. I give a lot of free things. I go by 6 steps with my program. And I say program, I call it membership because you're a member of this group that we never wanted to be in. But
Yeah.
Facebook, it's a private group. It's called Women Surviving Child Loss. And basically, there's a lot of stuff in there. Just there's webinars in there. There's flyers and just little things to help. I do a lot of just FaceTime in there, just asking. I do monthly Q&A, so once a month I do Q&A for these moms. Obviously, if they have any questions, they DM me, and obviously anybody's welcome to DM me with questions. For me, it's more about helping moms and helping them get through that day, and it's just my people. It's my tribe. So
I understand.
anybody's welcome to join that too.
So June said Facebook, for those who missed it, Women Surviving Child Loss. Go to her Facebook page, Women
Mhm.
Surviving Child Loss. June, it was great. We've run out of time. I want you to
Yeah.
hang tight a little bit in the back
Sure.
office. I want to wrap this up because I want to talk to you about some few things. I have to negotiate, ladies and gentlemen, for June to come
Mhm.
back because we missed a lot and she knows it.
Yeah,
We missed
there's
a
a
lot, but we
whole
had to get
bunch.
this part out. I know, but we had
Mhm.
to get this part out because you do such great work in
I
this field.
appreciate that.
And I'm happy to see that you've narrow niched it to. You narrow niched it
Mhm.
to something that was near and dear to your heart. But hold tight, hold tight. I will be right back. Okay? Hold tight. Wow. um, June Collins. She's a NLP master, neuro linguistic program, and she's got a number of modalities that she does. And when I talked about we ran out of time and we didn't have there's just so much else to talk about. Don't get it confused. June works with women who have suffered child loss. She's an NLP master. She talks about how to create the business for you. She knows about how your career can work for you later in your life. Okay, turning your passion into profit. So June is much more than what we talked about tonight. She is a masterful coach, and she, has credentials in what she's doing. But I'm so happy that she came on. I'm so happy that we got a chance to just really dive deep into the past trauma that was experienced and may have been experienced by a lot of you watching. But I want to thank you for listening to Expansion of Consciousness tonight. And this show could not be possible without you. I get a lot of emails. We get a lot of people chiming in the chats. It's just, it's fulfilling because I want to keep bringing quality content, quality individuals like June, who has an absolutely authentic voice. I'll leave you with that. And the words I like to leave you with all the time are relax, trust, and discover. We'll see you the next time.